Guys, I made an oopsie. Oh, it's gonna be okay. So, I may have damaged my bumper just a little bit. There's some cracks here and there, some scuffs and whatnot. But it's fine, because that gives me some content. Now, I'm going to try and do some plastic welding on this bad boy. As well as my lip is coming off, so I gotta fix that. And the original license plate mounts, those are rusted and stuck in there. So it was time for this thing to come off anyways. But yeah, today I'm gonna try some plastic welding and hope it goes well. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna focus purely on the welding part of things. I'm not gonna get into the auto body part of it because one, I suck at that, and two, it's gonna make for a very long video and I don't want to edit it. So yeah, we're gonna start with plastic welding. Things you're gonna need: soldering iron. There are specific plastic welding kits that you can get, but it's basically a fancy soldering iron. It's got little tips on it. There are different shapes for doing different things, but this will work. The other thing that I'm gonna need to get yet is I'm gonna use some steel mesh on the backside here, just to reinforce things, and I'll get into that later. But first, I'm gonna go to Home Hardware, or Home Depot, or whatever, local hardware store, get some fine steel mesh, and I will be right back. You know, most people, if you asked them, what's your favorite time of year? They'd probably say, oh, it's my birthday. It's Christmas. Me? I like roll up the rim time. Oh. So while I was getting coffee and my heart broken, I went to the dollar store and I got a couple of these food safe tennis rackets. There's stainless steel mesh on here, so it's not going to rust once we put it in the bumper. And then I took it and I cut it into strips, a little over 1 inch wide, just big enough to cover up the crack and then a little bit of overlap on either side. So now let's go down to the bumper, and then we're going to try and close up the cracks as much as we can. We'll tape them shut on the outside of the bumper, and then we'll just take some of this stuff and our soldering iron and we're just going to melt it into the back side of the bumper. Here's our crack. We're just going to close it up as much as we can and then run a few strips of tape across it. Okay. So I'm going to start from one side of the bumper and then pull tension across and lay it down, and that's going to hold the crack shut while we work on the back side. So now I'm just going to take some of the steel mesh that we prepared earlier, and I'm just going to make sure it fits over the crack. You can do this in sections, doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm going to have to because the crack curves, but you kind of move this stuff around, like I can curve it a little bit. So I'm just going to put a little bend in there for this corner. Now I got my soldering iron. I'm just going to tack it down first and continue onward. So I'm just going to tack it down either side and then work my way along the crack, just holding it in place like where I want it, and then I can come back afterwards and weld the whole thing down. See, I'm holding it on there until I can see the plastic start to come through the mesh. So I'm just going to tack it all along and then I'll come back later. So now you can see I've got it all tacked down all the way along. It's following the crack nicely. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along with my iron here, and I'm just going to run all this mesh into the plastic until it's wetted out fully. Alright, now you can see I got that piece fully sunk in. Now I'm just going to continue that along the rest of the crack. Once you've done that along the entire length of the crack, that is when you would take a piece of filler material. Make sure that your filler material is the same type of plastic as your whatever you're trying to fix. In this case, it's a bumper. A lot of times you can find molding marks on plastic parts that'll tell you what type of plastic it is. Or, easier way to do it is if I have a piece of bumper that I don't necessarily need anymore, say this bottom lip here, I could just cut a strip off of that and then melt it in there and use it as filler material. I'm not going to do that. I think this is probably strong enough. So yeah. I've now gone over the entire crack with my stainless mesh. And now this is when, if you're looking for a much stronger joint, you would flip it over, go to the other side, and then do the exact same thing. Now, when you're putting this stuff in here, if you sink it in fully, like you should, properly, you're not going to end up with much of a high spot. So you could do exactly this on the other side. Make sure you sink all the stainless into the bumper, and then run some Bondo over it, sand it, and you should end up with a fairly smooth surface. I think I'm going to leave the outside because I'm not too confident in my ability to make it smooth. So, I'm just going to rip the tape off here and see how we did. I don't see any, I mean, it's opening up a little bit, so maybe I will go over the outside. But for now, I mean, it's strong enough. I'm not gonna, this bumper's pretty beat anyways, so I'm not gonna worry about the visuals of it. This is more just so that I don't lose pieces of the bumper while I'm driving. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something. Maybe think of this as less of a how-to and more of a watch me bumble around and figure out what I'm doing. But anyways, if you haven't subscribed, click down below, subscribe, maybe turn the notifications on so you know when I post, which is few and far between, but I'll try and fix that. You can find me on Instagram at I Like Autos Daily, and until next time, see you later.